Okay, admit all. Good morning, everyone. It's good to see you all.
Good morning.
Good morning, Russ. Good to see you. I'll let everybody kind of have a moment to get their cameras turned on and their computers synced up. It's so good to see all these people. Bright and shiny faces.
Without face masks.
Yeah, right. Give it a couple, maybe another minute. I know we're expecting at least one other person, if not more.
Do you want to mention that we are recording?
Yes.
For those that can't make it today.
Let's see. I thought Amy Baker was here, but I'm not seeing her. That's weird. She was in the waiting room. Oh, this technology. All right. Well, we're at 9:02, so I'm going to get started. And Alyssa, if you can just help, and Jesse, help me watch the participants and let them in. Thank you. Okay. Good morning, and thank you for joining us. Before we get started, please note this meeting is being recorded. In lieu of asking everyone to do verbal introductions, please share in the chat your name and the organization you represent. Some other Zoom housekeeping suggestions I'd like to offer are to keep yourself muted so we minimize that background noise. And if possible, please have your cameras on so we can better interact with each other and our presenters. Another helpful hint for mixed audiences like this is to rename yourself in Zoom so that your name and organization appear on your video picture. To do this, you click on the 3 dots in the upper corner of your picture and select rename, and then you type in the information as you'd like it to appear. Or you can also find the rename option next to yourself in the participants tab under more. Oh yeah, I forgot to share my PowerPoint. Just a minute here. Again, welcome everyone. Okay, as we get started, I'd like to provide an introduction of our facilitation team. My name is Amy Oakley, and I'm a business services manager at Clackamas Workforce Partnership. I'll be co-facilitating this meeting with my regional colleagues, Alyssa Joyner with Workforce Southwest Washington. Alyssa, give a wave, yay. And then we have a new member on our team. Is Manson here? Manson Boyd, is he here? Manson, where are you? Well, we have a new member on our team, and if he shows up in the midst of the meeting, I might pause at some point when it's appropriate and do a formal introduction of him. But he's a new member of our team, and he's with Work Systems as of July.
I think Manson just entered.
Okay.
I think I just admitted him. Yeah, okay. So with Work Systems, we hired a new senior project manager. His name is Manson Boyd. He is going to be our new manufacturing sector lead. And we're really excited to have him on board and joining this group and the work of the collaborative team. So Manson, if you're on, if you could say hi to everyone, that would be great.
Is he here? I can't see. When I'm sharing my screen, I can't see everybody, so I can't tell if he's here.
Oh, maybe he didn't join.
Okay, so we'll do more of a shout out if and when he shows up. So now a little bit about the collaborative. We represent the workforce boards covering the Portland, Vancouver metropolitan area, and we are known as the Columbia-Willamette Workforce Collaborative. Working together as regional partners allows us to deliver a unified approach in serving industry, supporting economic development, and guiding public workforce training investments. We have been convening manufacturers in this industry-driven format for over 10 years in partnership with education, economic development, workforce development, and community-based organizations. And in that time, we have helped to identify shared goals that strive to address the workforce needs of our local community. Because we have a lot to cover this morning, I'll be watching the time to make sure we stay on track. There will be opportunities to ask questions at key moments throughout the meeting, but also feel free to use the chat feature for your questions and comments. And Alyssa, Manson, Jesse, and I will be helping to keep track of those as we go along. Now for our agenda, just quick overview here. Jesse is going to provide an overview and discussion of the Regional Quality Jobs Initiative. That's what we'll do first. And then we'll review and discuss our 3-year manufacturing workforce plan, which is getting ready to expire. We're going to share about some hiring events we've been involved with. And with our remaining time, we'll open up for an opportunity to share and discuss challenges and solutions amongst ourselves. So now I'd like to hand over the virtual microphone to Jesse Aronson, a workforce investment manager with Work Systems. Some of you likely know Jesse from the years he led this panel, this manufacturing panel. Jesse is a project lead for the Quality Jobs Initiative and is going to facilitate an overview and discussion on this important initiative, which will help shape the advancement of workforce equity in our region. Oh, and I see, before I hand it to you, Jesse, it looks like somebody's raising their hand.
I think that's Manson.
That's me. Yeah, I didn't know how to unmute. I didn't know it was #6 rather than just pound. But thank you very much for introducing me and leaving a spot. Hello, everyone. My name is Manson Boyd, and I am the new senior project manager. And I'm here to serve and here to help and to do what we can to facilitate everyone getting jobs and businesses getting employees. So that's what I'm here to do, and any way that I can help, and hopefully today will help you see how we do that. So carried away. Thank you very much. All right, bye-bye.
Thanks, Manson. Okay, thanks, Manson. Jesse, I see you're sharing your screen. Go ahead when you're ready.
All right, just getting set up here. So thanks everyone for joining today. Yes, I'm going to cover a quality jobs initiative or project that we've been working on for about the last 6 months and give folks an overview. And then we really want to have most of the time for a facilitated discussion just to get manufacturers' thoughts and kind of feedback on the project and where you see your companies benefiting and potentially playing a part in this effort. So quality jobs, over the last year, our directors have really been watching kind of the national focus on job quality. And there has been a lot of focus on the importance of improving job quality as a means for equitable economic recovery. So groups like Aspen Institute, Brookings Institute have put out a lot of information on how improved job quality can help, you know, both people looking for work, but then also be supportive of business and industry as well. And the collaborative, we're committed to developing a quality jobs framework, really is the foundation for our workforce board programs that serve job seekers, and then also, you know, really having it be the lens with which we engage industry moving forward. It's also linked to the Greater Portland Inc. Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy and the region's COVID recovery plan. And so this is, you know, as part of those plans, this is an initiative that the workforce boards really are taking on and driving. So for job seekers, a quality job can mean stability, health, and economic mobility. And for business, improving job quality can mean attracting new talent, improving retention, and really having an engaged and motivated workforce. So the quality jobs criteria, we started with draft criteria here. This was taken from the Aspen Institute. I think they had a white paper in the last year, a job quality agenda for the next administration. And we're really using this as a starting point, for having conversations in our region with various stakeholders across community-based organizations, labor, business organizations, economic development, to really get a sense from other folks, what a quality job means for the region, and try to get some consensus and buy-in to, what would be some regional standards that we would think of, when we think of job quality. And so you can kind of read the standards here, and I think a lot of companies are probably already doing these things. But this is really the kind of national criteria that folks are looking at as far as how to define a quality job. And so over the last couple months, I mean, since March, we've been having these conversations and really just trying to, get that buy-in from regional stakeholders, and also just seeing, how their organization would like to be involved in this initiative. So what does this mean for our work? What would this look like? We really don't know at this point. We're still fleshing this out, but have some initial ideas of how this effort may take shape in our work with job seekers and business. So right now we're in the process of leading these conversations and convening them around workforce equity and quality jobs and what it means for business and job seekers. Part of it we think could be identifying, recognizing, and supporting existing industry partners who meet job quality criteria and hire from our targeted programs. And also providing technical assistance to companies looking to implement quality job practices. We think this could be something that comes out of this effort. Integrating job quality standards and awareness into our job seeker facing programs and coaching models. So this would be including elements such as, how do people navigate a professional work environment? How do people access employer benefits and training supports? That's where we see a lot of our job seekers kind of fall short, is, getting in the door of a company, but not really, knowing how to navigate that environment, knowing how to ask your supervisor for support if you're struggling, but then also realizing, what's available as far as benefits for, internal training and advancement. And so that's, some of the ideas we've thought about on the job seeker kind of program design side. And really a big piece of this is, we really do want to strengthen our connection from our job seeker programs to the businesses that we work with. We convene 4 industry panels, manufacturing, healthcare, tech, and construction, and we do a lot of work with industry. But sometimes the connection between our job seeker supply, it's not aligned as much as it could or should be. And we really think through this effort that it could be a way to really sync up that pipeline a little bit more, and making sure that our efforts with industry are very closely aligned, with all the job seeker facing programs that we're funded for, that we run and operate, and that, we're investing in individuals. Labor market information, talent pipeline development and management, that gets really to syncing these two things up. We've been mapping our training investments really to look at, what are the trainings we're funding as a region, in the 6-county area, and what are the occupations we're preparing people for. Last quarter, who finished training, who's in our pipeline, who's set to complete training the next quarter, and what are those jobs, and are those jobs good jobs? Really looking at taking a closer look at kind of the entry level wages for the trainings we're investing in, and then also the demographics of people that we're funding and putting through training to make sure that that we're really supporting a wide variety of folks and helping in the economic recovery. And then, finally, this work will really serve as the foundation for future industry-led workforce plan development and implementation. And so, Amy mentioned we're at a point of kind of re-upping the manufacturing workforce strategy to begin a new plan period in 2022. And how do we incorporate some of these, practices and goals within what we do with manufacturing over the next several years? So that's a really quick overview of the initiative and kind of where we're at. We've done a lot of exploration initially of looking at, what other regions have done on this front. Portland, at Prosper Portland, there's an initiative called Portland Means Progress. I don't know who's aware of that, but that's essentially a job quality initiative focused on workforce equity. And so we've really been exploring, what's happening in the country, what's happening locally, to help shape kind of what we do as our broader region here. So with that, I will roll into a couple of questions and really just want to open it up for folks' thoughts and feedback on this. So the first question is, what are your initial reactions to the draft standards? And so I can go back to that slide so you can see them in front of you there. And just unmute if you have comments. Just looking for initial reactions. Think about, your workforce needs, your jobs, your company culture. Just any initial thoughts on these.
Jesse, Julie from Micropump said standards appear to be comprehensive. Amy Baker asked, is there a short list of quality job standards?
Yeah, this is our short list at this point, but I think we do have, from some of the national, Aspen and Brookings, they have kind of more detailed information on kind of that really goes into depth on different elements of these. So I think that's something we could kind of dig up and send to the group if folks are interested in seeing that.
Or if they had other ideas too, we'd be open to that as well.
Yeah, to that point, this is Amy again. To that point and that question too, like these are Aspen Institute standards. So what we're doing, and part of today's conversation, is what are our standards? What are the Portland Metro Vancouver region standards? So we can use their other best practices, but we're wanting feedback so we can form our own.
My only comment, just because where this is manufacturing, is the number 3, the stable, predictable work hours. And while we do have stable, mostly predictable work hours, we do run into, like, right now we're in phases of a lot of overtime. And so that's, that is a challenge that we face within the workforce is, people not running our workers ragged with a lot of overtime, but we're in manufacturing and, our busy time, it ebbs and flows, and that's a hurdle I think we all face.
Yeah, and I would agree with you, Rebecca. I think the one thing is that, yes, 3 is a good standard to probably have, but I think to pair that with just transparency, right? When we are in a work environment where that may need to fluctuate. So yeah, I would totally agree as well. Yeah,
I think that's correct though, is if you can't have exactly stable and predictable work hours, you need to be exactly transparent about it. I think that's fair.
Great. That's great feedback, and definitely something that can help us when thinking about the job seeker side of things and connecting people with manufacturing. Is that, yes, this is the ideal, but there's going to be times where there's production ramp ups and there will be overtime. Any other initial thoughts?
Alexis says Cruz is raising her hand.
Alexis?
Let's see if she can figure out how to unmute. Or maybe I can do it from my end. Let me see. Does that do anything? Oh, technology. I clicked and asked to unmute button on my end, but I don't know if that's coming through to yours. Do you want to, can you put your question in the chat? Or something? Right. Well, oh, wait, I think you're unmuted.
Am I now?
Yes.
Okay. I'm having some technical delays. I don't know if it's everyone or me. So my screen shows I'm muted right now, but my bubble now shows I'm unmuted. So I don't know what's happening. I was just going to continue kind of the commentary around point 3, is that for our company, stable and predictable hours are consistently, 40 hours a week on their shifts. But especially right now, I think with the personnel staffing challenges that are going on, there's a lot of opportunity for overtime. And so I think how we frame expectations for manufacturing workers is going to be really important so that they understand what the expectations are and what the possibilities are for them. So for example, I know just at my company, the expectation is that you don't leave your workstation until you've been relieved either by the oncoming shift or by a supervisor. And so for some people coming into the industry, it's an adjustment for them and it ends up not being a fit. So I think that's definitely something. I don't know if that is for a lot of other manufacturers in order to make production commitments, because we produce to order and not to inventory. But that's definitely, I think, a hurdle that we have to go over. Someone might be a great candidate, but they just don't have that availability. So, like I said, the transparency piece of it, it might not even be because it is a ramp up or, a very busy production time. It could be because there are personal issues with the people coming in for the oncoming shift. And so, I don't know, it definitely always 40 hours, always possibility for stable work in at least 40 hours. And then overtime on top of that. There's just, I think, a little bit more for some manufacturers that they need a commitment from workers who are, going into some of those key production roles like machine operator.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, this is Amy from CRB. We're small and we also build to order. We don't build for inventory, and we do a compressed shift. Maybe you guys do too, where it's like 10s. Like, so Monday through Thursday is when standard hours are, and then Fridays we use for overtime. And we try to kind of tell people on like Wednesday if we need them for the overtime, and we give them kind of an option. But I mean, we sort of rely on the workers too to kind of have a sense of the workflow here and kind of have some buy-in as like the team understands what the workflow is. And people generally step up, but people sometimes really like overtime, so it's not always like a drag for people. I mean, there's like, it goes both ways.
What I agree. I think people do like overtime when they have the, like my company, we're currently doing mandatory overtime, and that has not been going over as well. And so I think that people like overtime when they feel they have the choice to participate in it or not.
Great. Well, a lot of conversation on number 3. I guess I should have expected that with manufacturing, but I think, a lot of opportunity, it sounds like too, to maybe learn from other companies and what's working or not working, and potentially adapt or change, you know. Let me move on to the next question. I think this will probably get a bit of conversation, but you know, really, if you could channel your employees, you know, what do you think are the things that attracted them to your company, and what do you think it is that really keeps them there?
I know for our group that we're in big discussions right now as a group about how, you know, why do we work here? Why do we like what we don't like? And one thing that I found interesting is that they all say they love being able to work autonomously, but then they also like the team dynamic, because we do try to have at least one every Friday, we have a team lunch. So we all get together, and so we're all here, we're all being able to just chat without having a work, you know, a meeting to discuss anything. So they love autonomy, but they love team, and so they like that flexibility.
Great, thank you.
I think for with my company Nortech, what really attracts a lot of production workers for us anyway is our benefits. Our benefits start, our medical benefits and dental, all those start on your very first day. So there's no waiting period. That's always been a big selling point that people have been vocal about. And I think why they stay is, you know, we offer education reimbursement programs and a lot of like cross training. So it's a good way for individuals that are new to manufacturing or fabrication or some like skilled trade to kind of get like a lot of exposure and experience in skilled trade and work their way up.
Yeah, I just want to chime in too, Rebecca, because you bring up a really good point. At Oregon Tool or Blunt, we just recently implemented the no wait period for benefits as well, because we did feel like that would be a great value to our employees and to attract new talent. So I would echo that as well.
And you're just putting that in your job postings and on your career page on your website, and that's people are noticing that, and you feel like it's helping attract candidates.
Yeah,
go ahead, Rebecca.
I screen candidates too, and so whenever I talk to them, they ask about benefits, and I tell them that it's always it has been a decision maker for them that we're the better choice to go with because of that option. They don't a lot of times they don't have the option to go, you know, a month or 90 days without health insurance. So we just went out in that way.
Yeah, and we just implemented it, I think July 1st. So we don't have a ton of statistics yet, but we are also making sure to deliberately put that in job postings along with other benefits to help attract talent. And then also to that point on the phone screens, making sure to call that out as well.
This is Jajetta from Pacific Foods. We have an alternative work schedule. So our employees work 12-hour shifts and they either work 3 days one week, 4 days the next week. So they have 3 or 4 days off. And that's one thing that we've found, and it's consistent. It's a set schedule. And that's one thing that we found that employees really like.
So that gets back to the set schedule, but also I can see that could really be good for folks having 3 or 4 days off each week, even though you're putting in some long hours on the days that you do work. Any other thoughts on this before I move on?
Jesse, I'm going to call out a few things in the chat. Wages and working conditions, opportunities to grow, interesting work, a supportive team and coworkers, ability to learn, parent company reputation, company benefits, quality parts, and easy but challenging work. Another comment on compressed work week, training, culture, company culture is a big one. Benefits discussion helps them think beyond the hourly wage and salary. So those are some of the comments I'm seeing in the chat.
Great. And we're capturing all this to really help inform this. So thanks everyone for the excellent feedback here. So moving on to the next question, what are some of the characteristics of an employer that offers a quality job? And I guess we've kind of got, maybe it's a little duplicative, but you know, if there's anything else that comes to mind on the employer side.
I think kind of back to point 3 again, but transparency. I think just a company that cares about their employees and shows that with authentic transparency as best as possible. I would highlight that.
I definitely agree. Especially in the current market of candidates, and I mean, everybody and their mother is hiring out there. And so how to be competitive in that is tough. And I think candidates, new hires, people just really appreciate you even being transparent, even about the negative aspects of your company, is they don't want to be sold on a job and then they go in and they're unhappy. And that's why that's why lots of companies, including my own, we have high turnover rate, right? So we want them to be able to kind of know what they're getting into to the fullest. I think that is a really good point.
Am I unmuted again, or am I still muted?
I hear you.
Okay, good. My screen shows one thing, but the other happens. One thing I wanted to put in there that you guys got me thinking on, and I don't know if it was one of the parameters or I don't remember seeing it, is kind of the volatility of the employment relationship. So I know, for example, our company is very recession resistant because people still need toilet paper regardless of what's going on. But another thing that distinguishes us, especially from our competitors, is that we do not lay our workers off. We don't lay people off. And we don't let them go for reasons like that. So I don't know if that's a parameter or measure you guys are going to be taking into consideration, or something that you can share with workers, because it is something that we find that keeps the longevity with our workers and also attracts new workers. Because if they know that through the entire pandemic, their friend Joe was never laid off by their company, then when they're looking for a job, they say, oh, well, I want to work there too. I want that type of security.
Great. Yeah, and I think some of the other things, I mean, we've heard in conversations with groups that work with job seekers. You know, we do a lot of work with the Immigrant Refugee Community Organization, and you know, on this question, a lot of their feedback was, you know, employers that you know, ask questions about why their employees may be doing things a certain way, or you know, especially with the immigrant community, like employers that, you know, allow flexibility to observe Ramadan or allow a headscarf or ask questions, you know, and they are willing to kind of accommodate and work with cultural differences. So those were sort of just from the job seeker kind of perspective, some of the things that were coming up there. All right, so I'll move on to my last question here. So how do you see your organization being involved? And it might be kind of tough to answer because we're still kind of exploring and kind of defining the initiative, but just any thoughts of around how you could see your organization or you being engaged in this?
This is Amy. Can you guys hear me again? Okay. Well, I mean, we could maybe share success stories, you know, like, I know for us, we have people that have literally been here since the 1970s, but then we also have people that, you know, are brand new and fresh out of Clackamas, you know, community college. And so, you know, there's different kinds of success stories for different employees here. I think that would be a good way for everybody to kind of engage and kind of, you know, identify success stories.
I like it.
Yeah, I like that example too. And I think just, you know, through education. So, you know, whatever we can do to provide support and help people understand, you know, what employers are looking for, and then also, you know, what opportunities are available for individuals.
So I guess I have a question in terms of what do you need from us? And where do we fit in this initiative other than hiring people and you know, participating in job fairs or things like that? I mean, do you need us to talk about things more? Do you need what are you looking for from us companies in order to support this initiative so that it can be successful?
I mean, I think, as I mentioned, I mean, it's really, you know, one of our big focuses is strengthening the connections to the public workforce system and hiring out of that system. And I think, you know, and I know all the companies have gone to job fairs and participate in things and hire from trainings that we fund and put together. But really just trying to, you know, strengthen those connections and see, you know, I think the support and the transparency and information that we can share with our, you know, people coming through our programs, you know, to really show like, hey, there's a lot of good jobs in manufacturing, and manufacturers are doing things that you know, meet these job quality standards, and this is what it could mean to your life and your family. And, you know, so I think that information sharing would be good. And again, it's not totally defined what is yet, what we're going to do with this, but I think that would be a big piece of it. And I think, you know, even today, it sounds like just a lot of good exchanges between companies, hearing about different approaches and what's worked at one company and another. You know, I think that could just help the industry, you know, really improve and learn from each other on what's working and maybe attract more workers that way.
I was just wondering, I mean, are there any concepts that the group is looking to pilot maybe that you need an organization to partner with?
Not yet, but I think that, you know, down the road, I'm going to kind of go into our next steps here soon. But I think that, yeah, we would, you know, once we define the what a little bit more, I mean, we would be looking for industry partners to get on board with it and help build it a little bit more. And what, you know, as far as the connection to the economic development strategy, they're focused on traded sector. And, you know, and so one thing we've talked about is like, okay, well, if we take an initial, whatever our initial step is, maybe manufacturing is sort of the, instead of just going all four of our industries, but maybe focus on one sector first and kind of see what takes shape. So I could see that happening down the road.
Well, if there is a need for lack of a better term, for a test case, I mean, I think that we at Axle Plastics would be open to partnering in that.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey,
right. Well, I will.
Jesse, I was going to add something that just popped into my head for the sake of context. So our Quality Jobs Initiative, part of this project is literally to define what a quality job means. for our region, and developing some language around that for ourselves. And then we're going to take that and promote that with the job seekers that we work with in the public workforce system, so they can be better informed on what a quality job is to them. And then on the employer side, we're having this conversation with you. So I see another place where manufacturers and employers can be involved and benefit with this project is the idea of being more mindful of, yeah, what are we doing to provide quality jobs, and how are we promoting that so that we can sell that, we can sell ourselves. And I know this is all stuff we already all do, but this provides a more of a language and a tangible framework in which to do so. So that context I think is helpful, because truly from the career coach side and our case managers, we're going to roll this out, with the job seekers on that side. So they're going to hopefully be coming into the workforce with a quality job in mind.
So not to kind of turn everything into business and what's in it for me, but couldn't we kind of use this concept to create some sort of label or companies that abide by whatever you define as getting some sort of acknowledgement that they're recognized for this, and then it would really be reciprocal, right, for companies to continue to support that, to uphold that standard and expectation, and then also for the candidate side of things to be informed about what does that mean to have that label of standard, and what should they be asking in their interview process to make sure they're informed. So I don't know, not to turn it into that, but that's kind of where my head goes with this.
Laura, that's an excellent point, because I was just going to say, on the same exact thought, is there an audit or something we could undergo, to say, hey, you meet XYZ, that I think would be helpful. I think Laura's dead on the money, in my opinion.
No, that's good. I mean, that's what we've seen a lot of other regions doing is really elevating companies, that meet quality job criteria, or doing something focused in one area, maybe with youth or whatever. But really elevating those companies that are doing these things, and really, highlighting them, making those connections for the job seeker side to those companies. I mean, that's what a lot of other regions have done, and I could see this going in that direction.
Funny, because one of the things, and I would share the link, but I don't know if I'm allowed to do that. We've been there's a really good article back from about late 2019, early 20, about the characteristics of Generation Z. And we've been trying to implement some of the things that this study has shown, and some of them have helped, some have not. We're still working on better expressing our culture. But as far as the interactions in the onboarding process, I mean, there's an article out there, and it's just called "Are You Ready for Gen Z in the Workplace?" And if you get a chance, I'd really take a look at it. It's very interesting.
Cool.
John, if you can, I think you should be able to, if you can find it, you should be able to paste a link to it in the chat. I would at least give it a shot, because that would be helpful for us to see.
I can, but I didn't want to spam everybody. If that's okay, the link is to Berkeley University. So again, it's a reputable website, but it's on its way.
So just, I'm almost at time, so I'll wrap up here with just our next steps. We are convening a regional quality jobs council. We're targeting executive leadership in business, labor, community-based organizations, economic development, to really take all the feedback that we've gathered from stakeholder conversations and really land on and adopt a regional framework for quality jobs, and come up with some initial action steps. That council, we're looking at a series of 6 meetings, a really defined kind of set time period to build this out. And at the same time, we'll be kind of starting the work of integrating the framework into our workforce programs, and then also integrating job quality goals strategies into our work with business. And so, I mentioned the re-upping of the manufacturing plan. How can some of this strategy be incorporated there in our work with manufacturers? So, I think we'll, in the next 6 months, be pretty far into this and be at a jumping off point then. So with that, I'll wrap up and we can move on. Yeah,
Jesse, I
John?
just wanted to say, I mean, if we could be considered for it, we'd like to be on it.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So with that, I'll wrap up and go into the next section of the agenda. Really appreciate all the feedback and thoughts. A lot of great input, and really like a lot of the really going deep on some of the things that are specific to manufacturing. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Jesse. Great conversation. And I will add one thing. We have identified a manufacturer already to serve on this council, but we'll make note if that person doesn't have the capacity for it, we can circle back with you. And when it comes to the council too, it's a regional council, I believe up to about 15 members, and we're trying to be mindful of having it, be a diverse group in terms of industries that are represented and partner organizations. So more to come on that. But again, thank you, Jesse, for that great overview on the project. Okay, I'm gonna start sharing my screen again because we're gonna move into another agenda item. And this is our manufacturing workforce plan. Can you guys see my screen? Yes, okay. Thank you. So, okay, as I mentioned earlier, we've been convening manufacturers in this industry-driven format for over 10 years in partnership with you all, which includes education, economic development, workforce development, community-based organizations, manufacturers. So in that time, we've helped to identify shared goals that address the workforce needs. And these shared goals and strategies are documented in what we call manufacturing workforce plans. And we follow a similar process. We follow a similar process for our other industry partnerships. Healthcare has a plan, construction, and the tech sector. So, so we do a lot of this work at the workforce board level. This is a screenshot of our current workforce plan, which expires at the end of this calendar year. It was drafted, created, edited, and formalized by the manufacturers and partners in this group. And I know there's a lot of you on this call right now who were part of this plan and previous year's plan. And then many of you are new as well. Or the other thing that happens a lot is your company was involved, but because of turnover, you're a new face, or this is new to you, but your company has signed on and supported this in years past. Because this plan is getting ready to expire, Alyssa, Manson, and I are going to begin the lengthy process of identifying what was accomplished and what was left incomplete or undone. And we'll use that information and feedback to inform us on as we work to draft a new 3-year plan that will run from 2022 to 2024. So before we go too far into our review, I wanted to mention that because of COVID, we only had about 1 year to work towards these goals unencumbered by the pandemic. Years 20 and 21 were all obviously severely limited by what could be done and where our energy needed to focus. It's been a crazy time, and I'm sure you're all looking at your own strategic plans, budgets, projections, profit and loss statements with a bit of an asterisk on those years. And we're no different. But we did have, 2019, which is helpful for the sake of moving things along. So here's a little history, a brief history for the sake of context. This slide is a snapshot of all the 3 workforce plans that we have done. In 2013 through 2015, we focused on building a labor pipeline by attracting youth, finding work-ready candidates now, strengthening the manufacturing community. In 2016 through 18, we focused on supporting manufacturing as a career choice for the emerging worker, connecting manufacturers to the right candidates now, and then strengthening the manufacturing community. And then our current plan actually kept the same plan goals as prior, but adjusted the strategies and metrics, which we're going to discuss here in the next slide. I just wanted to pull this out. So what I'm going to do in the next few slides is like go deeper into our goals 1, 2, and 3, again, for our plan that's getting ready to expire. So, and walk you through some of the pieces of it. Again, for the sake of review. Starting with goal number 1, which is defined as supporting manufacturing as a career choice for youth and emerging workers. We identified outcomes which include things like exposing young people to manufacturing and empowerment opportunities, creating career-related learning experiences, continuing our industry co-invested messaging campaign, which is the careersnw.org website, which I'm hoping I'll get a time to go deeper into, but I wanted to call that out specifically. Connecting manufacturers to youth programs and the K-12 system through summer work experiences, and connecting educators to manufacturing worksite experiences. So what this means on the ground, like what we have done together with these outcomes, include things like supporting Manufacturing Day, which I know many of you have been involved in, and manufacturing related events in area high schools, youth programs, and at the community college level. Industry for a Day events, which is was mostly run through work systems of the Washington and Multnomah area, but they have had a really strong program with that until COVID. Youth job fairs, summer camps like Summer Works and other summer camps that specific to manufacturing. Showcasing local CTE programs and manufacturing programs at the community college level. And then making improvements to our careersnw.org website, which now includes greater access to career coaching and training options. Frankly, I think we should have a whole presentation just on the improvements we've made to that website, but we don't have time for that today. But a lot of good work on our goal number 1, I would say, over the last 3 years. Moving on to goal 2, quick overview here. We identified some key outcomes for supporting recruitment and training to connect manufacturers to work-ready job candidates. This includes things like career exploration opportunities for those interested in pursuing manufacturing careers through job training or job placement, hiring and training worksource customers, creating opportunities for companies to co-invest and support cohort training specific to manufacturing, and increasing the number of non-traditional candidates pursuing manufacturing careers. Many of these outcomes are driven by our partners at WorkSource Oregon and WorkSource Washington. We also have our community college partners, aligned partners, and community-based organizations who we partner with to support training and job placement with active job seekers. For goal number 3, we wanted to continue our focus on strengthening the manufacturing industry. This includes things like supporting professional development opportunities through interpersonal and skill development training and leadership and supervisory training. We also identified a desire to increase collaboration between industry organizations, industry partners, economic development, community colleges, and other training providers in the region. Goal 3 is a good example of how COVID-related challenges and obstacles prevented us from achieving our outcomes, at least when it comes to our inability to bring the skill development and leadership training to fruition. So that was an overview of our 3 goals. Looking back, right, as we kind of culminate on, as we come to the end of this year, we're going to be focusing on Alyssa Manson and I are really going to be digging deep in to come up with the numbers that we reached on all the outcomes that were identified. And then we'll report that back to you at our next panel meeting, which falls October 14th. So next steps, though, just quick review. One of the things we're going to do to gather some feedback from you manufacturers and our partners is a survey We'll send out a survey to review the plan and just comment on the priority areas and kind of get a sense for, you know, if we don't need to reinvent the wheel with some of these things, that would be great. But if because of COVID and the current economy, there's pivots we want to make, then we need to hear that from you. So we'll start that with an email survey. The board staff are going to be gathering numbers and reporting out on performance. And then we want to create a work group amongst us, you know, everybody on this call, a few identified numbers to focus on this plan on a deeper level, to develop a timeline and inform the development of our new plan. So as the timeline rolls out this summer, we'll be doing the surveys and start gathering our performance metrics. And then in the fall, we'll form the work group. And in winter, we'll report out on the final numbers for our plan, with the goal of probably launching our new plan. I'm thinking realistically, it'll be January, you know, winter-ish, because it is a lot of work. I'm hoping to do most of it, frankly, through email and small groups, because it is quite a lengthy process, and I want to kind of minimize the amount of time spent. Staff will do a lot of work on it, but minimize how much time we're asking employers to be involved, or at least keep the commitment, you know, to a minimum, if you will. Okay, so that was our manufacturing workforce plan. Does anyone have any questions about the old plan? I meant to put, I'm going to put a link to our plan in the chat, so you can maybe pull it up. It's interesting to see the back page has a list of the employers and partners that were involved with that one. So it might be interesting to see, if you're not familiar with the plan, if your company was involved with that one. And also be sure to mention in the chat or email Alyssa, Manson, Jesse, or myself if you'd like to be involved in the work group. It'll be a really neat way to be highly involved with what the next 3 years are going to look like. And we really do need the voice of manufacturers in this group, because I'm not out there in the industry world. I work in an office, or actually, frankly, from my bedroom in my home. And so we need to know what you need and what things are looking like out in the industry. I don't see any questions. And so I'm going to hand it over. Our next item is going to be Alyssa, who's going to share out about a specific hiring event, and then we can take it from there. Alyssa, go ahead.
Okay, hold on. I want to gather names that are volunteering, because I will call on you guys. So thank you everyone for volunteering. I really just wanted to say about the manufacturing plan moving forward, we don't have to keep with the same goals unless you want to. Again, what Amy said, what will the next 3 years look like? If you want to attach numbers to the goals, it's very fluid and really what you guys need. So
hey Alyssa, I just thought of something else that's kind of interesting. I remember when I was involved when we created our last plan. I was in this role, and I can remember a lot of conversations. It was kind of a one-year process, but that idea, you know, we're creating a 3-year plan, and it was mentioned several times, you know, we might hit a recession or something might happen in the next 3 years. So when we're creating our goals and the outcomes, you know, to kind of factor that uncertainty into it. And, you know, little did we know COVID was coming our way. So it's just so interesting, you know, the history that we've shared, and here we are now. We're coming out of COVID, and are we going to factor the recession and other things into our next 3-year plan? I mean, that will be up to you. So just a little history there.
Okay, so thank you for all the volunteers. I think I got most everyone. If not, I'll go back to the chat and write down your names. So yes, as most of you know, because you joined us, we had our manufacturing specific regional event May 26th using the virtual platform Brazen. So I just wanted to give you a quick recap on the final numbers and just moving forward what we're going to do. So next slide, please. So just our activity report, just some quick shots of numbers. So with Brazen, we had a total of 298 signups. Out of that, 228 registered, and out of that, 121 attended. So we usually have about 50% or more attendance rate, which is decent. Total chats that were completed were 248. So there's a lot of conversations that went. After the event, we connected with all of you for both the Washington and Oregon side to confirm hires, because that's the biggest thing that we want, is to track placement. So if you did hire anyone, please let us know. Just to call out a few companies, Amy with my fancies. So Excel Plastics and Smack Plastics actually did confirm some hires out of that event, which is exactly what we want and the whole point. Any questions on the numbers? Okay, next slide. Just some quick survey sound bites. So we do an exit survey that automatically gets sent out through the platform. It goes to both all the representatives and the job seekers. So it is a mix, but I tried to pull out what the job seeker feedback was. It wasn't all roses, but these are some really good ones that I really like. So we asked, would you recommend virtual hiring events to others? This person said it was awesome. I definitely would recommend this to so many people. It was very easy to navigate, and speaking directly with the company helps so much with asking questions and getting answers that you normally wouldn't until a hopeful interview, which is that's really great. This Brazen isn't really it's not an on-site interview, right? It's to kind of like what some employers have called speed dating a little bit. So you get to know the person, you get a feel, and then you can decide to move forward in your pipeline. There are some direct hires that have happened out of these events. Why did you decide to attend this event? I'm looking for a more stable job than the one I have now. I have never thought about manufacturing jobs before, but I figured I would give it a shot, and I'm so happy that I did. So that's awesome. That's exactly what we want, is someone who has a job, but they're looking for, you know, something more stable, something better. Not really sure about manufacturing, but now they're really into it. And so it's getting people into our manufacturing pipeline. And then of course, you know, Jamie has said any suggestions for the future, and then maybe making the event a little bit longer. I didn't have time to speak to everyone that I wanted to with researching the company a little before entering the chat. So that's good feedback. When working with statewide events for Washington State, these events are usually 4 hours, but I don't know if I want to make it that long to have people sit there and maybe talk to someone and maybe not. I do monitor these events to make sure you know, how many chats happen per booth, and to navigate job seekers to booths that probably don't have a whole lot of action at the time. So since a lot of you attended the manufacturing event, I'd like to hear your feedback of what you thought about it. Not so much on the platform unless you want to share, but your experiences.
Hey, Alyssa, it's Julie at Micropump. How are you?
I'm well. How are you, Julie?
Good. Hey, the last event was the first one that I attended, and the event itself, I think went pretty well. The only concern I had was that we didn't have a lot of candidates. And so I don't know if there's some opportunity to partner on how we, you know, and maybe it's just that our name's not out there. I don't know. But how we, you know, either spruce up our site or you know, how do we get more candidates out there?
Okay.
Julie, I experienced similar problem, but I will say that I've participated in like 5 virtual hiring events in the past 6 months since the beginning of the year, and they were all pretty similarly low on candidates. Just the candidate engagement on the virtual platform, I have just found, no matter what, you know, whether it was through Indeed or through LinkedIn or through WorkSource, it was the candidate engagement has been consistently a challenge in the virtual events. So definitely excited to get back out there in person hiring events.
Yeah, I think with the virtual platform, it can be kind of intimidating to some. We do offer classes, whether people take them or not, just to how to navigate the platform, how to interact in a virtual setting. You know, I don't know I've seen a few, it's not a lot. It is mostly text chat, not a whole bunch of people taking advantage of the, you know, in-person kind of thing. But, you know, navigating those waters as well as like, what does your background look like? Are you wearing pajamas? Things like that. So, but yes, definitely looking forward to in-person events again to get more interaction.
We had a good experience. I was surprised because we're so small and we have like zero name recognition, you know, but people did come and visit us. There were mostly people like exploring, wanting to get into manufacturing, which is awesome. But I just wonder like how we might be able to link people that actually either want to make a career change in manufacturing or have experience, you know, get them onto these types of platforms, because I feel like they're really strong for people that are sort of like either, you know, wrapping up their degree program or something like that, but maybe not so much like the people that are more production floor oriented, you know, because people that do production on the production floor, they're not like daily actively, I mean, there's a lot of technology that goes on, but they're not actively sort of engaged with a screen most of the day. And I feel like those platforms are kind of geared towards those kinds of candidates, you know?
I completely agree.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, it's something that I think hiring in manufacturing and for those production-based employees just in general is always a challenge, just getting them. I mean, it's hard sometimes to even get a solid resume, right, out of them, or to get them to get on, they're not like, that's exactly it. They're not on a laptop every day. They may not even own a laptop or a computer. They're on a mobile device all the time. And so getting them to engage on a virtual platform it does have intimidating aspects when they're not necessarily as comfortable as we are on a virtual platform, just because that's our job.
I mean, I'm intimidated a little bit by a virtual platform, and I do sit in front of a screen all day, you know, because I'm just like, and then the other thing was like, if there was more than one person, you know, because like I want to take the time with that person that I'm working with. It's just hard because you don't have the visibility. Like if you were in person, you'd be like, oh, I have 3 people here. And like, I could be simultaneously answering these questions for this one person. This other person could like get the benefit of that info exchange. And I don't know. It's just like, it's really good, but it's not as good as in person, right? That's still the gold standard, at least from my, Gen X perspective.
It was the solution we had to go to in this last, year and a half time. Like we really did not have another choice, and it's either that or not engage at all with candidates, right? In a kind of general setting. But yeah, I think that I'm excited to participate in a workforce event that is in person, because I haven't had that chance to do that yet.
Yes.
Yes, definitely agreed. So we have contracted with Brazen for another year. We can cut that short if we want to. Just moving forward, if you do get an invite, just letting you know. I don't have anything specific planned coming up anytime soon, specifically for manufacturing, but we may do a veteran event in November.
Alyssa, I just wanted to say that I've now interacted with the Brazen platform on 3 different occasions. And I think, again, it's not meeting somebody in person, granted, but I mean, to me, the mechanics of the platform, I mean, it worked flawlessly. I mean, it was easy to set up. It was, so I think like, as far as just from a technical end as a platform for this, compensatory approach, I think it's fantastic.
Great, awesome. Thank you everyone for the feedback. Yes, Natalie, we bought a second license for our program team, and they will be doing resource fairs, career fairs for not the colleges, but the high schools, maybe the colleges too. So that is up and coming. And that's all I had. So thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Alyssa, and thank you for your feedback. We do our surveys after the event, and we kind of hear from you through email, as well as the job seeker side. But it's really helpful to kind of debrief together, because we want to make the work we do helpful and ultimately connect job seekers to jobs at your company, hopefully too. A couple of other thoughts I have, I'm gonna put some things in the chat. So our WorkSource offices, at least in our area, are doing some drive-through hiring events. There's one happening literally right now in Clackamas County, and I believe, I know for sure Oregon Tool is involved, and maybe others on the call. I've kind of lost track of who's all here, but let me just post a couple of those. And then there's one next week, I believe, in the Cornelius area. But know that that style of event is starting to happen, the drive-through concept, and frankly, as COVID, fades into the sunset or whatever's going to happen, I can see how that even becomes kind of passe, because we can do in-person, face-to-face in the convention center or whatever, those type of hiring events. So, but it is, we're trying to do everything we can to connect job seekers to you. The other thing that's proving helpful that I'm hearing from our WorkSource business reps and employers is the idea of hosting an in-person job fair in your parking lot, on the site of a manufacturer. That seems to also be a good fit for certain manufacturers. So just know those ideas are out there. I'd consider them for your own, what you have your own capacity for. I'm going to share my screen again. Moving on. Manufacturing Day, since we have a little time, I wanted to bring this up. Manufacturing Day. I know many of you throughout the years have been involved in our Manufacturing Day events, and COVID smashed it to smithereens the last year, or maybe two. I've lost track of when we've done our last one, but this October, we may or may not be able to do such a thing. Traditionally, Manufacturing Day is held the first Friday in October, and I was just looking at my calendar that is October 1st. So how exciting. But the reality is, because October is always challenging for our school partners because they're just starting the school year. Some of us have chosen to instead of doing a manufacturing day on the traditional day, to do manufacturing month. So you can spread it out, not just on the first Friday of the month, but maybe throughout the month. So you can do multiple events. So I should say, this is more on our side. We can host multiple events. So there's kind of lots of options. Last year, I tried to do a manufacturing day virtually. So I tried to create the same thing, find some schools who are interested, find some manufacturers who are interested in virtually hosting a manufacturing related event on Zoom or something, and it just never transpired. And I completely understand why. So this year, because it's so early in the school year, and I know our schools, I'm just guessing it's going to be kind of crazy for them. I am completely open to what this group wants. If we want to try to do a thing on October 1st, or a thing in the month of October, I'm all for that. Or if we want to maybe think about doing Manufacturing Day, but creating our own at a different time of year. I think it was Amy who posted in the chat a little while back the idea of doing a thing when high school students are kind of getting ready to graduate. I think she was referring to a job fair, but perhaps promoting manufacturing at a time that would make more sense on the school side, both for the school's capacity as well as where students might be, in terms of graduating and getting ready for a job. So I don't know if anybody has any feedback. I'll open up for questions. Otherwise, we can move into closing the meeting. And I guess so October 1st falls before our next panel meeting, which is October 14th. So whatever transpires with that, you'll hear about it through email, just because of the timing of it. So I guess too, if you are, as a manufacturing, you're interested, you want to do a thing, no matter when it is, you want to be involved, please put your interest in the chat so that we can kind of keep track of who's interested, kind of no matter what COVID and the crazy world we live in throws our way. And then we can at least start with kind of on the ground level with that team.
We definitely have interest. I'm taking it all down.
Good.
Natalie said it might be good to do a survey of school partners, see what they prefer. That's very smart.
Yes. And actually, we do that every year, but the challenge is there's nobody to receive the email until the school year starts, right? The teacher or whoever. And so, and then when they do start returning to work, they're so overwhelmed. So we do that, but it always turns into this kind of time crisis of by the time we hear back from them, it's mid-September. And but yes, we do that, and we will do that again. That's why it really would be best if we could delay it until a little bit later. Everybody can be ready.
I agree, especially with the upcoming school year. I mean, everyone's going to be now officially back at school in person, which is really exciting. But I mean, the schools and the kids are going to be busy, and there's probably just going to be a lot thrown at them in the fall, I would assume. And while it's meaningful to do manufacturing day on manufacturing day, we might if we did it in early October, we might kind of miss the mark because there's so many other things going on that we might not make the impression that we want.
Yeah, good point. And it just dawned on me, I wouldn't be surprised if the schools have a no field trip policy because of COVID, or at least the first a chunk of time at the start of the school year. So now that I think about it, that might be a deal breaker right out of the gate. So, but we don't know for sure. So good thought, Rebecca. Any others?
If I could chime in, there might be a good opportunity to maybe use October to do some online blitz, like pushing out information about local manufacturers, like a coordinated social media and manufacturing related programs, because there's going to be a lot more in-person hands-on programs. And I think students might be really craving that. So it might be really interesting to highlight manufacturers and programs and then circle back in like April, May with, okay, now people who are interested, here's some opportunities to interview, hire, find out about actual specific jobs. That could be a really nice little pathway over the course of the school year.
Yeah, I like that idea. That was one of the things we tried to do last year when we tried to create a virtual manufacturing day. And I think we just needed more time, but I know many of you probably already have like onboarding videos or like a video that showcases your company to outsiders that would be frankly a perfect fit for this sort of thing. And if we had like a catalog of those or access to those that would be shared out kind of as a resource toolkit that we could give to the teachers, and then they can show it to their students around their schedules, that sort of thing. But that would be perfect, Natalie. I really like that idea.
Well, and even if it's just, like if all of you, because you guys all have really robust social media platforms, even if you just highlight a different company every day, all of you, the same company, even if it's just, here's the website, here's some of the interesting jobs, or, and like it seems like that would be fairly low torque, but to just blast a bunch of information out. And in addition to compiling it, I just think teachers are going to be really overwhelmed. But, I don't know, just a thought.
Really good one, because I believe whatever we're going to create, it's likely going to, if it's in October anyway, have to be virtual, and it can be done. We have plenty of time to create it. And the other benefit of it being virtual or in a social media platform is the fact that, we can all be involved, because usually I'm doing stuff just for Clackamas County and we kind of divvy it up that way. But there's no reason why it has to be just a localized information. We can share all the great manufacturing opportunities in our region with all the schools in our region, right? Okay, I see good feedback in the chat too. And I'll go ahead and copy the chat. So I'm going to move into just closing out this meeting. Let's see, thank you all for coming. We really appreciate your time, your feedback. This group happens, this industry-led manufacturing panel happens because of you and in partnership with you. We have a lot of work to do in the coming year in terms of a manufacturing day related event, writing our new workforce plan, and a lot of the quality jobs initiative framework, frankly, will likely be built into our new manufacturing workforce plan. So you can help inform the perspective of that from a manufacturer's lens. So that will be an important thing to connect with. I think that's all I've got. Our next meeting is October 14th. Alyssa and Manson and I will get together. We'll share our PowerPoints and relevant things that were shared today in a follow-up email, as well as an Eventbrite link to register for our next meeting. Thank you all for joining us. Unless anybody has any more comments, we'll go ahead and adjourn. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Great conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone.
Amy, do you want to stop recording?